Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a fun one for you today. We've got three little images here, and as you can see on the one on the right, it's got a call to action fading in, fading out over 10 seconds. One on the left here, if I hover over it, call to action is going to come in, you can read it, click on the button if you want to. And the one in the middle there, if I hover over it, we got a drop down call to action there. Just trying to make a little interest value for your call to action modules. So let's get started. Really easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and enable the visual builder. Okay, well let's get rid of this whole row and we'll start from scratch. Green tab for a row. I'm going to hit the little trash can. Little green button to add a new row. I'm going to add a new row with 3 columns. Funnily enough, I'm going to put a call to action in there. And for anybody that doesn't know, call to action button won't show up until you put a link in. That's just down below here. It'll link and the content there. Just go ahead and put a link in and the button will show up. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way your site will stay open. If you want the whole module to link to somewhere, you can put a link in there. Can be the same link or a different one. Same best practices apply. Obviously down below, put in whatever background color. I'll use that default blue we've been using. I skipped over the text up here. It's pretty self-explanatory. Put in your title there, what you want your button to say there, and any content that you want there. I'm going to leave mine just as it is on the default there. Okay, this first one, we just had it fading in over an image. And if you watch any of my hover effects videos, you'll know how that works. If we go back into our row now, we'll go into this column right here. Once in the column, we'll go down to background. Background's always under content. And let's add the image that we want there. I think I had that fella in the first one. Now, of course, we can't see it because it's behind our module here. And what we want is we want to see the image first. And then when they hover over, we want the call to action to fade in so they can click on the button or what have you. So let's save this. Takes us back to the row settings. We'll save those row settings. Let's go into our little call to action module now. Dark tab for the module. I'm going to go over to design. I'm going to go down to filters. I'm going to roll on down till I find one called opacity. Now, common to every Divi module, if you roll over the dark writing within a module, you'll see some little icons appear. Go to the thing you want to affect, opacity in my case. If there's a little arrow there, we can have 2 different values for desktop when the mouse is not on it and hover when the mouse is on it. As I mentioned earlier, when the mouse is not on it, I just want to see the image, that fella right there. Then when they put their mouse over it, I want that call to action to fade in. So I'm going to slide that opacity all the way back up to 100%. Now the time it takes to get from desktop view to hover view once they put their mouse on it with Divi by default is 300 milliseconds. I like to slow mine down for a bit of drama, and you can always do that over in advanced. Go down to transitions. There's the default 300. Let's take it up to perhaps 3/4 of a second, whatever works for you. And you can slide, you can type in a value, you can also increment up and down. Good little arrows right there. Don't want any delay, want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse on it, or at least start to happen. And my go-to speed curve for hover effects is ease in, ease out. Great. Well, let's save that. I'm not going to save. We'll save at the end and I will demonstrate all of these at once. So let's move on to our next one. And the next one, we had a drop-down call to action. So again, let's add a call to action. I'm going to leave everything as it is. And again, I'm just going to put a link in so the button shows up. Move this over so you can see. Okay, this one, again, we want an image in the background, but I want it, when they hover over the image, I want this to drop in from the top. That's pretty easy to do too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to our background. I'm going to put a black in there for this one. Really doesn't matter. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to take the opacity down just a little bit. So it'll go grey, so we can see a bit of that background behind. At the moment it's just white, but I'm going to put an image in there like we did for our last one. So let's go and do that, and we can start adjusting. So back into the row again. And we go down to the second one, our middle column here. Background. Again, I'm going to go to image. If you're not sure about backgrounds, have a look at our backgrounds video. We did a whole video on just backgrounds. You can get some amazing things by combining all these things that you've got up here. And let's put that young lady in. So you can just see her through there. Great. Well, also while I'm here, I'm going to go over to the advanced. Because we're pushing this up, it's going to be way up here somewhere. Well, I don't want to see any of that content when it's up there. So it's overflowing at the top. So I'm going to go down to visibility on the advanced, and it's the same for all rows, modules, and sections. You'll always find visibility under advanced. I'm going to go down to overflow, horizontal and vertical, and I'm going to turn them both to hidden. That way anything falls out of our little column there, it's not going to be seen. Great. So we're good to go with this one. We can go back to the row. We'll go back to our call to action. And let's zoom it out of the way. To do that, let's go over to design. We're going to use spacing for this today. Always find spacing under design. There's the spacing. Okay, first things first, I want to pull it up here initially somewhere. So I'm going to pull it up by 100%. I'm not sure if that's going to do it. Let's do 110%. So I'm going to put a negative sign in, 100, and the percent sign. That's pulled it up almost out of the way, not quite out of the way. I don't want any of that button showing at all. Not too worried about the background because I'm going to make that transparent in a minute. Let's perhaps do 110%. Yeah. But of course we've got no image there and that's not going to work, is it? Well, we can counter that. Let's try putting 100% or 110% padding on the bottom and see how that works. 110 and the percent sign. That's almost there, but I want it to be the same size as our one next door. So let's try 115. And it's going to increment up with the little arrows till it's the right size for us. And if you decide you want to use this on tablet and mobile, then you can go in, hit the little mobile phone icon, and you may want to adjust it for those devices. Okay, well that's the right size there. And now that we've got padding on the bottom here of 122 pixels, we've got something to trigger it. When we hover over, we can bring it back down. So again, I'm going to go up here, roll over the little arrow for the margin. When they hover over it, click on the hover tab there. I'm going to bring that back to 0. It comes all the way down. Fantastic. But of course, we don't want all that padding on the bottom now. We only want about 20 pixels or so. So we'll do the same for the padding. We'll roll over where it says padding there. Get your little hover arrows up. Let's close that thing down. Click on the hover. When they're hovering over it, let's try 5% perhaps. Nope, not enough. Let's increment out until it's the right size. Whoops, a little bit too much. There we go. 12% seems to work for that. Fantastic. Now let's go back to our background. I'm going to adjust that background because initially I just want to see the nice image. So I'm back in the content, still in the call to action, the background. Let's go up. We'll bring that little arrow up. Make sure we're on desktop state. Desktop state, you can either click on it, bring that opacity all the way down, or just hit a transparent color, whatever you want to do there. Then when they hover over it, hit the hover. Want to be able to read that nicely, so I'm going to put a full black in mine. Again, it's entirely up to you. And again, timing wise, I want to slow that down a bit because it's going to be really quick otherwise. Back over in advanced, transition. Here's the duration. Click that to 750. And ease in, ease out yet again. Fantastic. Great. Well, again, I'm not going to save that. We'll just demo all these at the end. And we've got one more over here. So there we go with the call to action again. Yet again, I'm going to put a little link in so we've got a button. Great. This time, I want to have this thing roll in and roll out. sort of fade in and fade out every 10 seconds on a bit of a loop, or whatever timing you want is fine for yours. So let's go and put whatever image we want in the background again. Again, I'm going to go into the row. We're working on column 3. Down to background. We'll pop in the image that we want. Okay, use that one last time. Great. We'll save that. Save the row. We'll go back into the call to action itself. Let's write a little bit of code to animate this, and don't panic. It's really easy, and any code I write, I'll put down below the video. You're welcome to use it. Adjust it how you wish. So I'm going to go down to custom CSS. Got to make up a class name. All class names have a dot or a period in front of them when you write them. I'm going to call it ctafade. You can call yours what you want, but it wants to be unique. Now I'm going to open and close some curly brackets. I'm going to tell it what I want it to do. Well, I want it to animate, so I'm going to say animation. Then give it a colon. We've got to give it a name. So I'll call it ctfade. Not exactly the same as our class name there, but it means something to me, so that's fine. And again, that wants to be unique. I want it to fade in and out over about a 10-second period. Adjust that to taste, obviously. And I want it to be infinite. In other words, keep going and going and going. Great. Now we have to actually create this animation called ctfade. So let's go down. We're using keyframes to do this today. Don't forget all this code's down below if you just want to copy and paste it. We're going to say at keyframes. Then the name that we gave it, which was ctfade. Then we can open some more curly brackets and decide exactly what we want to do with it. Okay, when the page loads at 0%, or at second 1 of our 10 seconds there, I'm going to open and close some more curly brackets here. I want it to not be there. So I want to say opacity 0. And you won't see anything happening until we apply this class name to it. And then halfway around our 10-second mark, I want it to appear. So I'm going to copy all of that. Control C. I'm going to drop down. Control V to paste. I'm going to say 50% mark. I want it to have an opacity of 1, which is fully visible. And also, when it gets to 100%, I want it to be faded out again. So it's a continuous loop. So the easiest way to do that is just put a comma after the 0 there. And we'll put 100%. So that way, at 0% and 100%, it's going to be invisible. Great. Well, let's just copy this. Again, Control C to copy. We'll drop down. I'm going to paste it just below. Just after the E of fade there with no gap, I'm going to put a colon and the word hover. No gaps in between any of that. So we created a hover state there. I want to tell it when they hover over it, stop the animation. So I'm going to say animation none. Great. And also, I think I'm going to use a sort of blue where we can see partial image through there rather than a full blue like that. So let's go back to our content, background. We use the regular blue. And let's bring the opacity down a bit so we can see a little bit of that image through there. Something like that. Obviously, you do what works for you. Okay, well now we need to apply class name ctafade without the dot. When you apply it, it doesn't need the dot or the period. So I'm going to copy that. We'll apply it to this module, call to action. Just above custom CSS is CSS IDs and classes. It's a class name. As soon as I paste in there, it should start animating. And it's animating in every 10 seconds. Then it's going to fade back out. Then it's going to fade back in again, etc. It'll keep doing that. That's going to get your eyeballs on it pretty quickly when things do that. But of course, when they hover over it, we want it to stop. And that's exactly what's happening there. When you take the mouse off, it'll start up again. Put your mouse on it, it'll stop. Great. Well, let's save this. Make sure all of these are going to work on the front end. Hit the little purple button. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. And there we are. Let's have a look at our first one here. That one just fades in. You can click the button, read everything there, take your mouse off, it'll fade back out again. This second one here, it's going to drop in like that. Of course, again, you can read it, click the button, take your mouse off, it'll head back up there. And our third one here, of course, it's fading in and out. When we put our mouse on it, it'll stay there. You can read the title, everything. Click the button if you need to. Take your mouse off, it's going to start that fade in out again. So there you go, guys. There's 3 little interesting ways of using the call to action module to make them a little bit more interactive for your visitors. Really easy to do, as you can see. And that little bit of animation code's down below the video for anybody that wants to copy it, paste it, modify it, use it how you wish. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.